When it comes to building your podcast listeners, what have you found to be the most effective tool for you?
I'd say by far it has been Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I like the platform and it helps me be active. I'm not a big Twitter person because that's a whole lot of reading.
There's no pictures.
There's no picture. You can go through Twitter every now and then, get a picture here and there, but it's a lot of words. And sometimes I'm like, I've been working all day. I don't want to sit here and read some more stuff. So I just gravitated towards Instagram.
There you go.
It's a combination and it's very engaging for me. I see these images, I see these really creative videos people do, and it makes me want to stay and makes me want to participate. And I think that helps me engage with the people who are listening to the show as well, because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're enjoying it too together.
Well, and I find it so interesting because Instagram is such a visual platform.
Yeah.
And a podcast clearly is not visual. And so how have you found to marry those two things?
It was really hard at first because for that very reason, it's like, do I just slap up an audio wave and call it a day? But people weren't always engaging with that because I think for them, that doesn't really capture your eye. You just see something, you're like, you keep going.
Well, and Instagram, so many people watch Instagram without the sound on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had to get a little more creative. And so I ended up adding text to the video. And I found out that when people saw the scrolling text or the moving text, it kind of made them stop because they could at least read it. Versus going on Twitter, they go on Instagram and they can read the text that's going on. And then that may capture their attention long enough that maybe they'll play the audio or maybe they'll come back to it later with headphones where they can listen to it because they're like, oh, I read this, it sounded interesting, let me come back and jump on it. So that was like my first kind of like little test that I did. It ended up working out really well, and it's something that I try to do consistently with the different episodes as they come out.
So every episode that you put out, you highly cross-promote it with Instagram.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
So every single week you're doing what?
So every week I do a combination of things. So I already schedule I try to do some type of image with the guest so people know who they are, because I think always helps when you get connected with who the guest is. Put a face to the voice, kind of helps them kind of get engaged. So I'll throw out a couple images there, and then I'll pull some type of audio from an episode. So something that was funny or entertaining to me, something that really was memorable for me, I'll try to capture that out. And maybe sometimes I'll do little cuts here and there, but I'll put that together, make a little text video, and I'll throw that out the week of the episode. And then just recently, I started doing these, called like a popcorn minute. I was like, I don't know what to call this thing, but I was like, I'm gonna make this a minute long. It's going to be about popcorn finance. It'll be a popcorn minute. It's just this quick video that kind of just recapping what's going on for the week. So I'll do it from my car. Yeah. And I'll say, hey, I'm in my car right now. It's raining or whatever's going on. And, this is what's going on. I'll talk about the guest that's on or maybe a previous week's episode. It's like a way for me to engage. And it's been kind of fun because it's a little more informal.
And is this on Instagram stories?
This is a combination. So I'll do, I repurpose the content. So what I do is I'll record the video directly on my phone. So that way I have the video, I can keep it there and then I'll repurpose it. So I'll cut it with a few different apps I use to size it for the stories, and then I'll keep it in the square format for the actual post that'll go out and be in the traditional feed. Okay,
so let's talk apps.
Okay.
Let's talk about the apps that you use. So jumping back to, what are some of your favorite apps to use for putting the audio on a visual platform?
Okay.
So putting the sound waves with the words on top of it and all of that. What are your favorite ones to use?
So I'd say by far, the one that has worked the most consistently for me is Audiogram.
Okay.
And that one, basically you take a chunk of audio, throw it up there, it will actually transcribe it for you. No transcription is perfect, so you're gonna do some cleanup. But you're capped at a minute anyway, so you're not gonna be doing that much cleanup. So I'll go in there, you can add the text, you can actually change the placement of the text, placement of the waveform, and I'll normally use, I use something called Pixelmator. It's like a cheap version of Photoshop.
I use Pixelmator.
I love it.
It's a great app for people who aren't super into Photoshop, but they still want to be able to have the control and the ability to change things easily.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't know you use Pixelmator.
Yeah,
see the stuff we're learning here.
We're just connected, all these different things.
So I love Pixelmator, Audiogram, and then what do you use to resize? So you take a video straight on your iPhone, and then what do you do with that?
So I've been playing around with a different mixture, a different cocktail of apps I've been using. So right now, this is my flow here. So for the videos, when I'm doing this popcorn minute thing that I'm doing here, I normally want to splice together different segments, and I also take images that maybe I'm using for other advertisements and things like that, and kind of throw them in and out. So for that, I use an app called Clips that's on the iPhone. It comes default. It's made by Apple. And what I like about it is that you can record these. You can actually take video that's on your phone, choose a section of it, add it, and then they actually have music, like background music that you can use that they already have, and it will automatically lower itself when you're speaking and raise it when you're not speaking.
What is this magic?
I don't know what they did, but it's a
What
pretty good
is
app.
this? That's awesome.
So it's not perfect, has its flaws, but it's
Right.
really great when you just want to use, if you want to use the music they have, or if you have, I think if you connect it to iTunes, you can also pull in that music. I can't give you the legal ramifications of using,
Right, of course.
like Cardi B or something. I don't know if you're going to do that. But
mean-
if you use Apple's music, you're fine.
I love, this is great. This is amazing information. So we're walking through this process together, right? So you have your podcast, it comes out. Do you start cross posting immediately the Monday it comes out? Because your shows come out on Mondays.
Yeah.
And so the Monday it comes out, you start doing it throughout the week. And then do you find yourself posting a certain amount of days or having certain days that you do like your popcorn minute or you put up an image or things like that? What's kind of your schedule and what you find works best?
So what I found is that it's more so about timing because
Okay.
If you haven't already converted your Instagram account to a business account, I would recommend that first because then you can see all the stats on your followers. You can see what time they like to be on, what day of the week they like to be on. And what I've noticed is that day of the week is pretty even, for at least for the people who do follow me. So when I look, it's not much fluctuation day to day, but the timing, it seems to be really important. So what I found is that posting in the morning, not a good idea. Because
Okay.
most people the people who follow me, they aren't actually active in the morning.
Interesting. And that's all on the insights on a business page on Instagram.
Exactly. So you go in there, get your little bar graph throughout the day. You can kind of see an upward trend as it gets later and later in the evening, more and more people are active.
Okay.
So it tends to be, for me, after about 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when the bulk of the people who follow me are actually active on Instagram. So I try to time it to be around that time of day because I get more engagement and more interaction.
That's great. And do you have a certain approach when it comes to the hashtags that you use?
See, the hashtags, I'm still figuring that out because
Okay.
you have to, it seems at times if you are too repetitive, if they're not as effective.
Because you've like saturated that hashtag.
Yeah. One of the tips that I did here that was, I guess, has been pretty useful and seems to still work is that to use hashtags that are in that medium popularity range. Because what will happen is if someone's following a specific hashtag or if they're in the specific hashtag they're following pops up in their story, if it's oversaturated, there's less likelihood that you will be one of the ones that floats to the top. So if you pick a hashtag where there's like 3 million posts,
Right.
the likelihood of yours being one of the ones that makes it to the top that is seen is very low.
Oh, that's so good.
But if you pick something in the 10 to 30,000 range, you have much more likelihood of your post actually floating to the top. And it can be something that's more likely to be seen, but then also something that, not everyone's gonna be posting right then and there. So
Right. And it reminds me a lot of keywords in SEO.
yeah.
Right. So the lower the number, the better chance that people will see it.
Yeah.
So how do you find how many hashtags are showing up on a certain hashtag? Do you just, when you're typing in the hashtag, you're like, wow, this has 10,000 hashtags right now. You know what I'm saying? Do you look at those numbers or do you find, how do you even think of your hashtags?
So I try to keep it relevant to some extent. So I try not to go
Right, so
too far off the board.
yeah.
So I wouldn't kind of just like spam it with everything that's popular right now.
Baywatch is not in your first top 3 or something, right?
No. what I will do is I'll go on there and I'll think, okay, what am I talking about? What am I touching on? What kind of fits in this theme that maybe this particular episode is going to be about or just the show in general? And I'll go through and I'll start kind of just putting them in and kind of look and see where do they fall. And if I find something that I like that seem to be in that good middle range, I'll save them. And I just make a note in my phone.
Okay.
And then I save those hashtags there. And I make maybe I have about 5 groupings of hashtags. And so when I make a post, I'll just cycle through like, okay, today I'll take this grouping here. Next post I'll do this grouping. So that way I'm not reusing the same ones over and over.
Right.
But there will be some similarities between the groups, but I can kind of cycle through without having to think of new ones on the spot every single time.
Right. And is there a hashtag that you add to every single one of them?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do the branded ones. I do hashtag popcorn finance. I
There
might
you
keep
go.
all the posts together. That's always a good one.
There
You
you
can look
go.
back. And then
And that's different for everyone, by the way.
Different
Not
one.
everyone's going to hashtag popcorn finance.
everyone can. That's one that I think is allowed. And if you would like to use
Can I
it,
start hashtagging popcorn finance?
you are more than welcome
Thank
to.
you.
If you want to do it right after we're done, just hashtag it
in a
up.
couple minutes, yes.
Another one, another one that I found that I really like is hashtag debt free community.
Okay.
And that one, just because they were a very engaging community, and I started off with all this at the very end of my debt repayment journey.
Yeah.
And so I really kind of connect with the people who are a part of that, and I find that it's a good place to start conversations. And a lot of my topics are finance based, anyways. And some stuff are just fun nonsense things I'll throw out there, but it's all finance related, and I've got a lot of engagement with that community, so I always tag them with most of the posts I do because I feel like I'm part of that community now.
And which do you prefer? Because I've seen it done multiple ways. Do you prefer doing like the ... hashtags? Or do you do the hashtags in the first comment on your posts?
Ooh. So what I'll do, I'll throw my max 4 hashtags in the actual post itself.
Okay.
I kind of leave it there. I put a few in there. Just
do you
in the
do
main
the
post. ...
or do you just put it in the actual text?
What I do is I put four hashtags in the post, and then I'll go into the comment section. And so I do I think it's like 3 or 4 dots, and then I put the hashtags because then they get hidden. You don't when you see the post, you don't see 8 hashtags as the first comment on your post.
Exactly,
it kind of hides them, so you don't really have to see that right away.
Hashtag too much.
Hashtag too much. Hashtag comment down.
Hashtag, okay. So I love that you do both. I feel like now I'm going to go back and copy exactly what you're doing, and you're going to see that. Just kidding. No.
Don't, because if it doesn't work out, I don't want you to blame me.
Is there any other tips that you do every single week when it comes to Instagram?
What I've seen for sure is that I get much more engagement on stories than I do on the actual posts. And I noticed that my own habits are to go to stories, not to the feed. Because I don't know, I get tired of just scrolling, but the stories seem to be more engaging.
Yes.
And you feel like you connect more. So for me, I put more focus there because that seems to be where people are actually connecting with me. And that's just the part that I like to be in. So it feels like you really look at your own habits and how you use these platforms. That gives you a good indication of where everyone else is probably going to be at too.
Yeah, sometimes I will just sit and watch my stories. I will put them on in the background.
Yeah.
I will that totally makes sense. And I love watching stories and be able to engage in them. This is something I struggle with, okay? But I've seen that you have done, and I want to get your take on it.
Okay.
Is recording your face.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's really intimidating for me. I feel like maybe people are watching me and thinking like, oh my gosh, why is she obsessed with her face? But I mean, I don't think that of anybody else. I only think that of myself, right? So was that hard for you? And what have you found has worked about just talking?
It is so hard. Yeah. I don't even take pictures of myself. So video is another step above that. And it's just, you feel so narcissistic sometimes taking videos of yourself.
And you're not like looking around you to see people on your phone, in front of you. Just like, don't think about it. Don't think about it. So what do you do?
So I just try to, it's almost like when I go to record a podcast, I know I in my mind, I first think, I probably look ridiculous right now. We just got to push that out. And you say, it's not about that. You're producing something, you're creating something. And it's really not for yourself, it's for other people. And people, they want to connect with a real person. And I think that's the biggest thing. And if they see your face, it's much different than just a static picture or just like a recording of your voice. When it's video, it's almost like you're having a conversation. Although it's a one-way conversation, they feel like they're connecting with you. And you're kind of bringing them in and you're kind of building a relationship. So I think that's why, even though I am so uncomfortable recording myself, so uncomfortable, I do it anyways, just to help make that connection and grow and connect with the people who are going to be listening to the show, which I think helps in the long run.
And a lot of that is turning focus from you and being self-conscious, but turning the focus to your audience.
Yeah.
And giving them what they will connect with and what they will like.
Exactly. Because they're not, when they see the video, they're not like, who's this weirdo in the car?
Right? They don't necessarily think of you in the car recording by yourself. Not always. So I get that.
I have a couple of friends who message me and say, why are you in your car? But besides those people, the real people I'm trying to talk to, they just see you as a person and they see this, you're someone that they want to connect with.
Right.
And this is their opportunity to connect with you is through these videos. And so don't worry about it. Just think of it as you're having a conversation. They're just going to hear back from them later. You're sending your part of the conversation now and you get the response back in a little bit.
Well, and don't let anyone make you feel self-conscious for that, right? So, I mean, if you have friends or if you have family who are like, really, why are you recording yourself again? It's like, because it's not about me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about me.
Yeah, and it's not for you. It's not for those people anyway.
It's not for them,
no.
Right? It's for your audience who you're connecting with. Are there people on Instagram right now that have podcasts that you just love what they're doing on Instagram? Who are some of your Instagram idols?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think.
I know. I put you on the spot with that
one.
I have a couple that come to mind. Popcorn Finance and
Money Millhouse. That's a great one if you haven't checked that one. Have you heard of that? Great podcast.
It's all right.
Great podcast. Well, this person, they're not a podcaster. I'm going to go off.
Okay,
I'm going off a little
script.
bit.
You do what you want.
But she does Instagram extremely well. Her name is Allison Baggerly from Inspired Budget. She's the reason why I started doing video because of how engaging her videos are. And I started thinking about it from my perspective when I watch her, and I'm like, it is so engaging. It's like she's talking to me, and like we're friends. That's what it feels like. And I was like, this is the kind of feeling I want to create. And she does it so well, so casual, so smooth that I've taken a lot of inspiration from what she does and what I try to do.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, right, from hearing what you're saying, is it takes just a lot of doing it.
Yeah, it's just practice.
You know, you just gotta get out there and just start recording yourself, becoming comfortable, and to just doing it. And every single time that you start, it can just be really self-conscious, but the more you do it, the more you get used to it.
Exactly. And the great thing about stories, it's gonna be gone in 24 hours. So you're fine. If it's horrible, it will be gone.
Well, and that leads me to one more point before we finish up. How do you utilize your archives when it comes to stories? Because we know that we have archives on your page, people can access at any time. How have you found those to be effective, but how do you choose to categorize those?
That's good. That's something I've been working on because I got to clean that up.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I got to clean that up too. I'm totally there.
Well, what I found was that when I started doing this Popcorn Minute, I was like, oh, I put a lot of work into this for just to go away in 24 hours.
Right.
So I actually started saving it in those little bubbles. You'll see them. It's right below your name, but before you get to your feed, there's these little bubbles that you can sit there and save and categorize your previous stories. So what I've done is for those Popcorn Minutes, those will get placed. I give them their own section. And then also there's been times where I'm doing production for an episode. Like I was working on one when I paid off my car. And I went through and I kind of documented it. I took some popcorn that you gave me on the journey with me. It fueled my car, my final payment of my car. But it was like, it was a story and it's going to kind of tie in with the episode that'll be there to come later. So I was like, oh, I'll save this. You can keep that memory just right there. So it's a great way for me to go back and remember some things that have happened, but also for people who just happen to miss it. I mean, people aren't on Instagram all the time, but
right.
if you have these moments, these stories that you've built that you think are cohesive and it's something that really does have value that's not limited to the time when you recorded it, you can save that there as one complete moment, one complete memory, and people can go back to it whenever they have time and you don't have to worry about it disappearing because it's already there. It's locked in.
Well, and one of the things that you've done that I really want to start doing on my own Instagram is to take books that you're reading throughout the year, because I know you're an avid reader and reading is a really great thing, and goals, hashtag goals when it comes to the books that you're reading. And I love that there's a little section of all the books that you read. And it's something that just comes up naturally on your stories, and then people can see, oh, these are the books that Chris is reading.
Yeah, hashtag memories. It's one of those places. I have a horrible memory.
Okay.
And it helps me as well. But what I found is that people, for some reason, I didn't think that people would care what I was reading. I was like, I'm just doing this because I feel like I need to read more and make this part of my life. But then that's some of the stuff I get the most engagement on. And people were like, oh, well, what are you reading? Or what do you have coming up? And I was like, oh, well, why don't I just save these here? That's another way that you can utilize stories and also saving it in those little sections there is that you can have this ongoing list. So it doesn't have to be books. Maybe it's like, I love movies, I like talking about movies, and every time I go see a movie, I'm going to save it and I'm going to put it right here, maybe a picture of my ticket stub or the poster for the movie or me saying something quick about it. And it's just a way to kind of keep this it's almost like a growing list that's captured in video form that anyone can go back to at any time. And I don't know, it's just a great way to just store stuff and just come back to it.
And to start a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've read a book that I've read and can say, we read that book together, let's talk about it.
Exactly.
Or that movie was horrible or wonderful or whatever it is, it's a great way to start conversation and to personalize yourself with your audience. I mean, I'm a huge fan of you and I love going and absorbing the content that you put out. And so we've already mentioned a few times, so where can people find you?
So we'll just start with Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Popcorn Finance Podcast, or you just go to popcornfinance.com. You'll find me on there. You have links to where you can check out the show if you want to take a listen to what I'm doing.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm excited to check out your Instagram again.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Bethany.